الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. I'm so sorry. I believe Brother Rami yesterday spoke to you about the beloved wife of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Khadija. Was this, true, right? Huh? Asma? He told me he would be speaking about Khadija anyway. So he spoke about one of the great Sahabiyat, Asma bint Abi Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu anhuma. And today I will be talking about also a great woman in Islam, but not from the past, but from the present. And I will be talking about a woman and her great story, a story of sacrifice, dedication, conviction, love for this deen, and always in her time tried her best to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I will start with this introduction, how she described her relationship with Islam. She said, I am very glad that I am a Muslim. Islam is my life. Islam is the beat of my heart. Islam is the blood that courses through my veins. Islam is my strength. Islam is my life, so wonderful and beautiful. Without Islam, I am nothing. And should Allah ever turn His magnificent face from me, I could not survive. And the sister who said such beautiful sentences, her name is Aminah Assilmi. Aminah Assilmi. How many of you read about this name before or heard her story before? Aminah Assilmi. We have great Muslim women, by the way, in the American Muslim community, but a lot of us do not know about them. We do not know about even our leaders in America as Muslims, because we took other role models as our examples in life, especially in sports and movies. And this is very sad, unfortunately. Aminah Assilmi was an American woman who converted to Islam, and honestly, she made history, and you will listen to her story now. We have great names also, like Ingrid Mattson. She was the president of ISNA, the largest Islamic organization in the United States of America. She also a woman convert. And we had, I said, many great names, whether it was, they were men or women. But today, inshallah, we'll be talking about Aminah Assilmi. I read her story many times in Arabic and in English, and wallah, I had tears in my eyes every time I read her story. She was a Southern Baptist girl, a girl who was attached to the church, a radical feminist, and a broadcast journalist. She was a girl with an unusual caliber who excelled in school, received scholarships, ran her own business, and were competing with professionals and getting awards. All this while she was going to college. When she was in college, she was competing with professionals, and she excelled in all the fields that she worked in. And I hope our college students will take from this a great example. Then one day, a computer error happened that made her take up a mission as a devout Christian. Eventually, however, it resulted into something opposite and changed her life completely around. What this story was. It was in 1975. 1975, when for the first time computer was used to pre-register for a class in her college. She was working on her degree on recreation. She pre-registered for a class and then went to Oklahoma City to take care of a business. Her return was delayed and she came back to college 2 weeks into the class. Making up the missed work was no problem for her, but she was surprised to find that the computer mistakenly registered her for a theater class, a class where students would be required to perform in front of others. She was a very shy and quiet girl, and she was horrified to think about performing in front of others. She could not drop the class, for it was too late, and it will be marked F in their script or in her script. Failing the class was also not a choice, for she was receiving a scholarship that was paying for her tuition, and receiving an F would have put it at risk. Advised by her husband, she was married in college, she went to her teacher to work out other alternatives to performing, such as, for example, doing some paints or some script for the theater class. Assured by the teacher that he would try to help her, she went to the next class, that means the first class she attended, and was shocked by what she saw. And guess what she had seen in that class? The class was full of Arabs. Al-Arab. And I wondered why Arabs were taking a theater class. I'm not sure. We are not good in acting, by the way, right? Alhamdulillah, sometimes we have some exceptions. And she, called them camel riders. That was enough for her. No way I will sit in this class, surrounded by Arabs. She came back home and decided not to go back to the class anymore. It was not possible for her to be in the middle of Arabs. There was no way I was going to sit in a room full of dirty infidels. See how, what was her perception about Arabs at that time? Or she called them non-believers in Christ, non-believers in Christianity. Her husband was calm as usual. He pointed out to her that God has a reason for everything and that she should think about more before quitting. Besides, there was the scholarship that was paying her tuition. She went behind locked doors for 2 days to think about. When she came out, she decided to continue the class. She felt that God gave her a task to convert the Arabs into Christianity. So she had a mission. First, she did not wish to attend the class. Now, she wanted to attend the class for a great purpose, and that is to convert the Arabs to Christianity. Thus, she found herself with a mission to accomplish. Throughout the class, she would be discussing Christianity with her Arab classmates. I proceeded to explain to them how they would burn in the fires of hell for all eternity if they did not accept Jesus as their personal Savior. And this is, by the way, the only statement that every Christian, when he meets somebody else, will tell him, if you do not believe in Jesus, you are going to hell. Okay? And we tell them wrong. If you do not believe in God, you will go to hell. And we believe in Jesus, and Jesus must believe in God for him also to go to paradise. Right? So they were very polite, she says, but did not convert. And which is something amazing, by the way. We have so many Arabs and Muslims who do not practice Islam here, but it's impossible for any of them to convert to any other religion. The few who convert to Christianity or other religions, by the way, those people either they convert for money or they convert for, it's not something out of conviction, but they convert because they had, for example, they are ignorant about Islam, or they needed financial assistance, or they needed citizenship, or whatsoever. And then she said, I explained how Jesus loved them. And we know for sure that Jesus loves the believers and had died on the cross to save them from their sins. And as Muslims, we do not believe that Jesus was crucified or he died. All they had to do was accept him into their hearts. Because we as Muslims, we believe in Jesus, but we believe in him as a great prophet like Muhammad, like Moses and Ibrahim alayhi salam, and others. They still did not convert. And so she decided to do something else. You know? And yesterday, I want to share with you this joke I watched yesterday on YouTube. Sheikh A'id al-Qarni from Saudi Arabia, he is telling this joke that he went to London to attend a conference. And there was a Muslim da'iyah from the Middle East, without naming the country. And one day he was, giving a lecture. Then, a blondie girl walked into his class, and she was so beautiful, right? So he focused on her, and he basically started harassing her. He wanted her to become Muslim. He knew she was married, but he said that if she converts to Islam, automatically she must what? Break with her husband. So he said, if she breaks with her husband, this is the second step, I will marry her, right? So he kept, giving her brochures about Islam, talking to her about Islam, and one day she came and she was so happy and told him, I have good news for you. He said, what? He said, she said, I want to become a Muslim. So he was so happy. So she repeated the Shahada after him, and he went back to his friend, and he was so happy with a bright face and a big smile. They told him, what's going on? He said, she accepted Islam, and my plan is going well, right? And now he was hoping that she will break with her husband, and when she is divorced, of course, or from him, he will marry her. One day later or 2 days later, she came and she was smiling, and she said, I have even better news for you. He said, what? He said, my husband converted to Islam. He said in Arabic, Aslam ibn al-Kalb. He told her, this, son of a dog, accepted Islam. That means, and he went back to his friends and he was frowning, and looking bad because his plan did not, materialize. Subhanallah. Anyway, so she says, I decided, when they did not convert, I decided to read their own book to show to them that Islam was a false religion and Muhammad was a false prophet. So many, by the way, so many people who read about Islam and research about Islam, they go and search, by the way, to prove that Islam is wrong. But subhanallah, Allah guides them to Islam. Although their intention was, as said, to attack Islam or criticize Islam, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide them to Islam. One, for example, there is a great book in the market. It's called, Bible, Quran, and Science. And I advise you to go and read it. And your English is better than mine. And this is for a French doctor, physician. His name is Maurice Bucaille. And this man, he studied the Quran and compared it with the Bible and science to prove that the Quran is a false book. And at the end, he proved that the Quran is agreeing with science 100%, and the Bible did not. So he converted to Islam and he wrote that book, a beautiful book, the Bible, the Quran, and science. So now so many people, Cat Stephen, you know who's Cat Stephen? Yusuf Islam, the same thing. And so many other people, Yahya Emerick, we used to teach his books in Salam School here. He also converted to Islam after researching about Islam and reading the Quran. So when she wanted to study about Islam, she requested some books from the Muslim students. One student gave her a copy of the Quran and another book on Islam. With these two books, she started on her research, which she was to continue for the next 1.5 years studying about Islam. She read the Quran fully and another 15 books on Islam. How many of us Muslims who were born and raised in Muslim families, all their life will read 15 books about Islam? Wallahi, it is very sad that so many of us live Islam all their life and they do not finish 1 book or 2 books in their life. This is very sad. It's unfortunate. How in the world we will be defending this great religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if we do not know what it's all about? So then she came back to the Quran and reread it again. Okay? Reread it again. During her research, she started taking notes that she found objectionable and which she would be able to use to prove that Islam was a false religion. Unconsciously, however, she was changing from within, which did not escape the attention of her husband. When she was reading in the Quran, by the way, the Quran would read the person. When you read the Quran, and she was reading the Quran in English, imagine if she read the Quran in Arabic language. And that's the reason why it's fard on every one of us to learn Arabic language, to read the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, learning Arabic language and reading Arabic language and, you know, writing Arabic language, I believe it's fard on the Muslim. And this, by the way, in First Islamic Empire, you found that all the scholarship were focused in the hands of non-Arabs. That means the teachers of Arabic language were non-Arabs. They were, either Persians or Indians or, for example, from Azerbaijan or whatever. Imam al-Bukhari and others. Al-Khalil bin Ahmad. So many scholars of Arabic language and Quran were non-Arabs in the first place. So, as I said, her husband started noticing that she is changing because he was the closest to her. She said, I was changing just in little ways, but enough to bother him. How he changed? She is still a Christian, but look the changes that took place in her life without her noticing that. She said, we used to go to the bar every Friday and Saturday. Christian family. Or to party, and I no longer wanted to go. No more going to the bar Friday nights or Saturday nights. We have some Muslims who are going these days, right? I was quieter and more distant. She stopped drinking and eating pork. She's not Muslim yet. Her husband suspected her of having an affair with another man. She says, for it was only for a man that a woman changes. Ultimately, she was asked to leave. Her husband told her, I cannot take it anymore. You have to leave this house. And she soon found herself living in a separate apartment. She says, when I first started to study Islam, I did not expect to find anything that I needed or wanted in my personal life. Little did I know that Islam would change my life. No human could have ever convinced me that I would finally be at peace and overflowing with love and joy because of Islam. Throughout these times, she continued studying Islam. And although she was changing gradually from within, she remained a devout Christian. She did not leave her religion, but she started, look here, a Christian changing her habits because she was influenced indirectly by the Quran and the Islamic books. Imagine if Muslims read Quran and read Islamic books, how much it will change their life too. And that's the reason why a lot of Muslims, especially in the West, in America, they do not taste the sweetness of Islam because they do not know that much about Islam. They did not live Islam truly in their life. They did not read the seerah of the Prophet. They did not read Quran. They did not read Islamic books. They did not read, for example, the stories of the Sahaba, the great stories of great Muslim heroes. How Islam, by the way, ruled the world for over 1,300 years. And if you do not know all these, how in the world you will enjoy Islam that you are, attaching yourself to? She says, then one day, there was a knock on her door. It was a man in traditional Muslim robe, the dishdash. Imagine this, right? Who appeared to her as a man in a long white nightgown with a red and white checkered tablecloth on his head, the amama, right? His name was Abdul Aziz al-Sheikh. And he was accompanied by 3 other men in similar dress. she was very offended by Muslim men coming to her in nightgowns and pajamas. You know, she thought this is pajamas. It was dish dash, right? She was further shocked when Abdul Aziz told her that he understood that she waited to be a Muslim. She replied that she was a Christian and she did not have any plan to become a Muslim. However, she had some questions to ask if they had a time. She's still what? Debating, with herself and with the other Muslims around her. At her invitation, they came inside. She now brought up the questions and objections that she noted down while she was researching. I will never forget his name, she says, of Abdul Aziz, who proved to be a very patient and soft-mannered person. He was very patient and discussed every question with me. Why? Because he was confident of the knowledge that he had. He never made me feel silly or that a question was stupid. Now, so many of us, if somebody from the non-Muslims around us come and approach us, why, sister, you wear hijab? How many of our sisters will be convincing in their answers? If they come to a Muslim man or young man and tell him, why you are praying, why you are fasting, will we be able to give them a good answer, convincing answer? And that is why we need to study about our religion. Abdul Aziz listened to every question and objection and explained it within the proper context. He explained that Allah had told us to seek knowledge, and questions were one of the ways to accomplish that. When he explained something, it was like watching a rose open petal by petal, right? Petal? Okay, whatever. This is the Arabic pronunciation of it. Until it reached its full glory. When I told him that I did not agree with something and why, he always said I was correct up to a point. Then he would show me how to look deeper and from different directions to research a fuller understanding. It would not be long before she would externally submit to what she had already been submitting to internally during the last 1.5 years. Later in that same day, this Southern Baptist girl would declare in front of Abdul Aziz and his companions, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his servant and messenger. And this was on May 21st, 1977. 1977. Converging to Islam, or to any other religion for that matter, is not always a simple thing to do, except for few fortunate ones. A new Muslim usually face consequences, which is true. How many of us face difficulties in their life to live Islam? But imagine somebody, a Christian or a Jew, converting to Islam and going against the will of his family, his parents, his brothers, his sisters, his relatives. How much it will be difficult for them. And that's the reason why those people must be respected by all of us, wallahi. Because they make, I said, the greatest of sacrifice when they come to Islam. And, we should be amazed by their conviction to Islam and their commitment to Islam and the way they do it. The convert may face isolation from family and friends, if not pressure to go back to the family faith. Sometimes a convert may even face severe economic hardship, as in the case of those who are asked to leave the house because of converting to Islam. Some converts are fortunate to continue to be well respected by family and friends, but most of them face minor to severe hardship, especially during the first few years after conversion. But the difficulty that Aminah Assilmi had to go through and the sacrifice that she had to make for the sake of her conviction and faith is almost unheard of. Something unbelievable. And now we will see the difficulties that she was faced with. There are few who could really rely so much on Allah as she did, standing firm and meeting the challenges making sacrifices, and yet maintaining a positive posture and influencing people around with the beauty of what she found and believed in. She lost most of her friends, for she was no fun anymore. Her friends said, what's this? Leave her alone. Her mother did not accept her becoming a Muslim and hoped that it was a temporary zeal and that she would soon grow out of it. That means she is immature, but when she realized her mistake, she will come back to Christianity. Her, quote, mental health expert, end quote, sister thought that she lost her mind, and she attempted to put her in a mental health institution. Her sister started contacting mental health institutions to send her sister who converted to Islam to such institutions. Her father was a calm and wise man. People would come to him for advice, and he could comfort anyone in distress. But when he heard that his daughter became a Muslim, he loaded his double-barrel shotgun and started on his way to kill her father. Quote, it is better that she be dead rather than suffering in the deepest of hell. He was afraid that she will be burned in hellfire. So he wanted to save her, It's like what we call mercy killing. She was now without friends and without family. She soon started wearing hijab. Look, this woman, the moment she entered Islam, she started wearing hijab. And I am amazed by the American sisters who convert to Islam, and the same moment that she is coming to the Islamic Center to accept Islam, she already have hijab on. And we have Muslim women who are born and raised in Muslim families, and they are still objecting to hijab and criticizing hijab, and they feel ashamed of wearing hijab. Wallahi, I feel sorry for them. How many Muslim sisters who come from Arab families and Muslim families, and the way they look, the way they behave. Like the other day, we were in a demonstration downtown, and I don't want to talk about it. The people who attended this, they know what I'm talking about. Wallahi, it's a big shame how some Muslim women and young girls are dressed and the way they are behaving. We need to learn from those great, or these great sisters that we are, talking about. As I said, the day she put the hijab on, she was denied her job. She was now without family, friends, and job. But her greatest sacrifice was yet to come. This was nothing compared to what is next. She and her husband both loved each other very much. But while she was studying Islam, as we learned before, her husband started suspecting her, and he asked her to leave the house. After she openly accepted Islam, it went worse. He filed for divorce. He did not want her anymore. This was a time when Islam was little known, much less understood for what it is. She had 2 little children whom she loved dearly and whose custody should have rightfully be given to her. And we know the little children custody all the time goes to the mother first, not the father. But in a grave violation of justice, she was denied their custody just because she became a Muslim. Because the laws in the 70s were different from the laws of today. Before giving the formal verdict, look at the judge. The judge offered her a harsh choice. The judge told her, either renounce Islam and get custody of the children, or keep Islam and leave the children. And she was given by the judge 20 minutes to make a decision in the court. She loved her children very dearly. It is perhaps the worst nightmare that a mother can have, asked to willfully leave her child not for one day, month, or a year, but forever. On the other hand, how could she keep the truth away from her children and live as a hypocrite? It was the most painful 20 minutes in my life, she says. Those of us who are mothers and fathers, especially of young children, little imagination is needed to feel the pain, the torment that she must have passed every second in those 20 minutes. What added further to her pain was according to doctors, what the doctors told her, she could never bear another child because of certain complications. That means even if she gets married again, she will not have another chance to have a child. I prayed, she says, like I had never done before. She prayed sincerely to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I knew that there was no safer place for my children to be than in the hands of Allah. She prayed to Allah for herself and for her children. If I denied him, Allah, there would be no way in the future to show my children the wonders of being with Allah. That means she made dua for them, for Allah to guide them to Islam and protect them. And one day they will find the truth and they will find why she chose Islam as her faith. She decided to retain Islam. After, when the 20 minutes were over, she came back and she decided what? I want to choose Islam, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will choose for me when it comes to the rest. Her two dear children, one little boy and one little girl, were taken away from her and given to her ex-husband. For a mother, is there a sacrifice greater than this? A sacrifice that is done for no material reason, but only for faith and conviction. Quote, I left the court knowing that life without my babies would be very difficult. My heart bled, even though I knew inside I had done the right thing. That means by choosing Islam. And she said, I found comfort in reciting Ayatul Kursi. Ayat al-Kursi. Perhaps the air of Colorado was too thin for justice, because the court took place in Colorado. Or perhaps there was a plan in Allah's greater scheme for affairs. Aminah Assilmi later on fought back and took her case to the media. Although she did not get custody of her children again, a change was made in the Colorado law that one cannot be denied child custody on the basis of his or her religion. We know that they denied her custody because she converted to Islam. But changes in the law were made possible for the person to, as said, have custody regardless of his faith or her faith. Indeed, Allah's love and mercy engulfed her so much that, as if she has been granted the touchstone of Islam, wherever she goes, people are touched by her beautiful words and Islamic manners and become Muslim. She became a great speaker. By the way, I want you, when you go home, search under her name, Aminah Assilmi, 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 and see what a great speaker she was and a great Muslim woman she was. By accepting Islam, she became a changed person and much better person. So much so that her family, relatives, and people around her started appreciating her mannerism and the faith that she brought, in her life. Despite her family's initial reaction, she remained in touch with them. She did not boycott them. And there are, by the way, some ignorant Muslim, whether you call them shuyukh or students of Islam or extremists, who will tell any man or woman who converts to Islam, you must treat them as kuffar. You should have no relationship with them. You should not visit them. You should not, by the way, give them gifts. You should not go and visit them, for example, on a Christmas or on Thanksgiving. Absolutely, this is not Islam. And I am saying this with all the confidence. Islam in the Quran and the Hadith of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ mandates the man and the woman to keep in touch with his parents and be loyal to them and be obedient to them and respectful to them. But the only thing, he should not participate in their rituals. That means to practice the faith that they are practicing. Besides this, all the respect, all the support, he should continue giving to them. So now her family and friends and relatives start changing around her because of her manners and behavior with them. She says, I used, to send them gift cards with quotes from the Quran and the Hadith of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ without mentioning this is from the Quran or sayings of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And as I said, why? She was making da'wah to them in an indirect way. The first to become Muslim, and she said, by the way, this, subhanAllah, influenced her family. And look what happened in her family. The first to become Muslim was her grandmother. She was over 100 years old. Imagine, subhanAllah. Soon after accepting Islam, she died. And I believe, inshallah, she went to Jannah. See here, Allah subhanahu Allah's mercy. She says, the day she pronounced Shahada, all her misdeeds had been erased, while her good deeds were preserved for her. She died so soon after accepting Islam that I knew her book, the record, was bound to be heavy on the good side. It fills me with such a joy that my grandmother accepted Islam before she died. Next to become Muslim was her father, the one who what? Wanted to do what? To kill her. The one who wanted to kill her after she became Muslim. And you know, she quotes here when she narrates her story, the story of Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu when he was going to kill Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and at the end of his journey, he became a Muslim. Subhanallah. And then 2 years after she, Assilmi, accepted Islam, her mother called, and she said that she appreciated her faith and hoped that she would keep it. By the way, her father told her when he accepted Islam, don't tell your mother. Right? And now the mother is calling. And what happened here? A couple of years later, she called again and asked her about what one would need to do to become a Muslim, her mother. Assilmi replied that one had to believe that there is only one God and Muhammad was his messenger. Quote, any fool knows that, but what do you have to do? Her mother said. She replied that if that is what she believed, then she was already a Muslim. At this, her mother said, well, okay, but let's not tell your father just yet. And her father accepted Islam, and he told her the same thing. Don't tell your mother that I accepted Islam. Subhanallah. She was not aware that her husband, Assilmi's stepfather, had the same conversation with her a few weeks earlier. Thus, the two lived together as Muslims, the father and the mother, as Muslims for years in secret without knowing that the other was also a Muslim. Subhanallah. How great they were. Her sister, who wanted to put her in the mental institution, accepted Islam as well. She must have realized that becoming Muslim is indeed the most healthy and sound thing to do. Her son, upon becoming adult, the two children that they lost custody in the court, when he became adult, accepted Islam. When he turned 21, look here now, our youth, when they go to this critical age, they get themselves away from Islam. But look at this young man. Although he did not live Islam, but because he was watching and reading about his mother and in touch with his mother, he accepted Islam at the age of 21. He called her and said that he wanted to become a Muslim. 16 years after the divorce, her ex-husband also accepted Islam. He said that he had been watching her for 16 years and wanted his daughter to have the same religion that she had. You see, this man, he was not a hateful person. He came to her and apologized for her for what he had done. He was a very nice gentleman, and Assilmi had forgiven him long ago. But they did not go back to each other. Perhaps the greatest reward for her was yet to come. Assilmi later married another person, and despite the doctor's verdict that she could never conceive another child, Allah blessed her with a beautiful boy. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes a gift to someone, who can prevent him? It was truly a wonderful blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and so she named him Barakah. She named her son Barakah. The sacrifice that Assilmi made for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was tremendous. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala turned in mercy to her and rewarded her with enormous blessings. Her family discarded her after she accepted Islam, and now by Allah's mercy, most of them are Muslim. She lost her friends because of Islam, and now she is being loved by so many. Friends who loved came out of nowhere, she said. Allah's blessings came upon her so much that wherever she goes, people are touched by the beauty of Islam and accepted the truth. By the way, most of the time, whenever she goes and give lectures, people in the lecture will accept Islam, especially women, because I said of the impact that she had on them. And I said, when you listen to her, especially when you watch her videos on YouTube, you will know what I'm talking about. Both Muslims and non-Muslims now come to her for advice and counseling. Even non-Muslims will seek counseling and advice from her. She lost her job because of wearing hijab, and now she is the president. When this story was told, she was the president of the International Union of Muslim Women. She delivers lectures nationwide and is on high demand. It was her organization that successfully lobbied for the Eid stamp. You know the blue stamp, Muslim Eid Mubarak stamp? How many of you know that we have an Islamic stamp in the post office? Raise your hand. When you go before the Eid to buy, stamps to, if you have gift cards or Eid cards to send to people, ask for the Eid Mubarak stamp or the Eid stamp. It's a blue stamp. It has the, in Arabic and in English, Eid Mubarak on it. And we need to, by the way, buy this a lot. And, I believe it became permanent. I'm not sure exactly, but I believe it became permanent. And had it proved by the United States Postal Office, but it took many years of work. And she was on the top of this effort. She had a tremendous trust on Allah's love and mercy, and she never loses faith on Him. She was once diagnosed with cancer. Some years ago, doctors said that it was in an advanced stage and that she would live for another year. But her trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala maintained her for many years to come. Let me finish with this. Sister Aminah Assilmi, who was, I said, a great community leader, an activist and a scholar, an author, an advocate for women's rights, died on March 5th, 2010 in a car accident outside of Newport, Tennessee. She was returning with her son, the son who accepted Islam, from a speaking engagement in New York. Her son, who was injured in the accident, was taken to the hospital, and when she died, she was 65 of age. This is a great woman, and we need to know such stories of great Muslims who are living among us or who influenced our lives, as said, in America. And we have, as Muslims in America, great Muslim leaders that we need to learn about their stories, like Malcolm X. How many of you know about Maryam Jamila, for example? Maryam Jamila? I want the sister to search about Maryam Jamila and read about her. She had, I believe, more than 20 books in the, in the market, in the library. She authored them. A lady who was Jewish, 16-year-old girl who converted to Islam, and she started studying about Islam, and she, married a Muslim man from Pakistan. She moved to Pakistan, and she lived there, and she studied at the hands of the great late Muslim scholar of India and Pakistan, Abu al-A'la al-Mawdudi, and she met him, and she met great many Muslim scholars, and she wrote tens of books, and you can, by the way, see her work. So we have great Muslims, Malcolm X and others. As Muslims, we have great examples to follow. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always guide us, as I said, to live Islam as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to do, and to follow the guidance of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and also to follow the examples of our great Muslim heroes, whether in the United States or abroad. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from all of you. Jazakumullahu khairan wa barakallahu fikum. And thank you very much.